evening and welcome to the Standards of Geekness podcast, episode 11. Monday afternoon Raw, huh? International, Netflix. We're getting a Raws in the middle of the day. Some of us are at work and have
Dude,
to watch afterwards or play catch up.
I loved it. I loved it. I got out of work. I got out of work at 3 o'clock. Raw started at 3 o'clock. So I got out of work and had just enough time to get situated before a John Cena promo. It was perfect.
By the way, I gotta say, he did a really good job. Probably 9 out of 10 promo for me. The only thing that only caveat I had is he didn't really explain why he sold his soul to The Rock. That's the
Yeah.
one missing piece for me.
Yeah. There was definitely a lack of story progression. Um. And I think we were all wanting just a little bit of a reason why to make this shift. And I was cool with like pretty much any explanation too. Like if he would have just been like, I'm winning I'm gonna win that that last championship, the one to beat Flair's record. I'm winning that for me, not for you. I would have been down with that. As
Yeah,
simple as
like
something like
connecting the dots, and he did a really good job. Like his justifications for everything else, and like his resentment towards the WWE universe, how he's breaking up with them, about how he said that he was gonna be it was a toxic, abusive relationship, and he was done with it. And the
I
Cena
love.
Chucks
I
and
love
Cena,
that. I loved him keep holding the mic up to the fans, and everything you're saying is just proving me right.
hmm
Like that was
yeah,
great. And I don't know if you noticed this. Something I noticed in the promo that I found interesting, and it came out a lot when he was like almost doing the yelling part of his promo, was it almost sounded like hurt, like
yeah,
genuine pain that he had, and it came across much more genuine, and it hit differently than a regular heel turn. It didn't feel. It almost was, kind of what he was saying. This isn't a heel turn. This is just me saying "fuck you."
yeah. Like him basically saying, you guys betrayed me. Constantly denigrated me. The fact that the Cena sucks people were always against me, and that the Cena let's go Cena people were with me. But there's no difference between the two. I thought was
Yeah,
brilliant in his storytelling because his entire run, he got a lot of hate for not. I mean, 5 moves of doom, and he got hate for a lot of reasons. They're kind of shitty in my opinion. I've
bullshit,
gone back. I've
bullshit.
watched.
Just say it, bullshit. Like legitimately, he was a big part of carrying WWE for a good decade. Like, I'm not saying he did it alone. I'm not saying Edge or Orton or Batista or Punk weren't all a part of the things that he did,
Mhm.
but he was a huge part of it.
Well, I mean, you think about it. Like early 2000s, Rock was off in Hollywood. Austin had quit. There was a huge vacuum at the top, and Vince tried several times to get certain guys over. Um, that needed that extra oomph behind them. And Cena kind of came along and, he captured the imagination of a much younger crowd. He was hip and cool with the rap gimmick, the Dr. Thugonomics. Like he spoke to kind of the cultural zeitgeist at the time. I remember a lot of people, dressing and acting like John Cena like that, when I was in high school. And like, I'm just like, okay, this is interesting. But yeah, it's just interesting to me that there's so many roles that the major players in the WWE have had over the years. Your Hogan launching the WrestleMania wave with Hulkamania kind of coinciding. You've got the new generation with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. You've got the Attitude Era with Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, all those guys. You've got Ruthless Aggression, which Cena wasn't the main star at that time, but he quickly came up. And then
Hmm.
he kind of held it down for like
Well, I think in a lot
10
of
plus
ways he
years.
defined it. I think his debut defines the ruthless aggression era.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a lot of things I think people will realize and appreciate Cena more for once he's done. I thought this heel run was absolutely beautiful. I do fully expect him to win the title at WrestleMania and to take it to Hollywood. Won't work as hard. He's gonna be disloyal. He's gonna be like, you know what? Fuck these fans. This is for me. He said.
Hmm.
Uh,
I I want to add to for someone who has been a babyface and been cheered for 25 years, man, like there was a moment when he was walking up the ramp that, and he's being booed and he's being jeered, and I was just like, man, that might legitimately be difficult, like for John Cena the performer.
mhm.
Like
Well, you get so
you
used to
haven't.
hearing that, you're conditioned in how to respond. And I thought, honestly, my favorite part of the whole promo was the fact that he was preying upon, you know, people and how they kept. He did this horrendous, horrible thing. Even he said it was horrible to betray his values, and all they had to say was, "What do you got for me? What's next? What new outfit are you going to come out with? What are you going to look like? Are you going to have a goatee? Are you going to be bald?" And I thought it was really,
It,
really interesting that he kind of called the fans out and in kind of a meta way.
it takes some balls to throw all your Make a Wish Foundation shit that you've done on the fire the way that he did in that promo too. Just like, I did all this for you, and it still wasn't good enough. So fuck you. See that little kid right there in the front row, right where they always put the Make a Wish kid at the WWE events, and then he's like, "Screw that kid." And then they showed the kid. Like,
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna really enjoy this last run of his. Whether he stays heel the whole time, which I personally think they should have him stay heel the whole time. I think if you're gonna do
me too.
something, commit to it. Um, and
Retire as a heel. I said it. Retire him as a heel. It doesn't matter. Like when he comes back again after that for whatever
he'll
reason
get
to
the
say
legend
hi.
pop.
Yeah, exactly. He does not need to end this run with a redemption. Fuck that.
Yeah,
Like I think we
and
all respect him more
uh,
for going out as a bad guy, for doing it a little bit differently and giving us something that's special on this last run.
honestly, you know what I think would be hilarious is if he started using more wrestling moves, like instead of his five moves. If he just started like
Just
wrestling, like when Hogan
go
went to
to a
Japan
mat.
and all of a sudden could do like a head scissors leg takedown and shit like that. Like I think it would be hilarious if John Cena went the full like NWO Hogan route.
No, no,
Just
no,
the
he has to
opposite.
go mat wrestler. Go full mat
Yeah,
wrestler, like Kurt Angle style.
you never go full Benoit.
You never. I want
Sorry,
that
guys.
on a
I
t-shirt.
have a very
I
dark sense
want
of
that on a t-shirt. You never go full Benoit. That should be.
humor. Oh, I'm gonna get sued by Jericho, aren't I? Oh, but yeah. Before we dive too much into Raw, the main topic that got us thinking this week was yesterday was Stone Cold Steve Austin Appreciation Day. I don't know about you, but I set my Steve Weisers out on Saturday night.
What?
What? Huh? But honestly, we just kind of wanted to take a minute and appreciate Stone Cold Steve Austin and all he's done for the wrestling business. He's kind of transcended the sport in a way, and I mean, there's so many iconic moments. The Zamboni, the beer truck, the whole bit with him and Kurt Angle with the Jimmy Crack Corn shit was hilarious. Like, I think thinking about how his entire career went, how he was basically relegated to the tag division in WCW, and not he was almost on the verge of being fired in the WWF before he struck gold with Austin 316. Like, what
So
world would this have been had Austin never been around? Would they have won the Attitude Era, the Monday Night War? I don't think so.
no, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like it's kind of funny because when WWE finally took back the full like mantle, it was with Mick Foley winning the world title.
Mhm.
But if you actually go to that match, what was the catalyst for Mick Foley winning the title?
Austin.
DX and Austin.
Hmm. Well, and
And and really everything about that match, Austin, Foley, Rock, DX, add in the Undertaker. The Undertaker's the one missing element there. That is every element that led to the victory by WWE. Not trying to take away anything from Bret Hart. I'm not trying to take anything away from Shawn Michaels. But the fact is, by the time the Monday Night War ended, neither of those guys were on Raw actively.
those guys weren't drawing well enough to win the Monday Night Raw War when it was happening in the beginning. Like that's part of the problems. They were the top guys when it began. Like it's not a slight against them. It's just the truth is people were
But
craving something different.
I will also add though, had WC and I really would love to do a Monday Night War episode. You
We
know,
might have to.
um,
But what if?
we might have to.
What?
Yeah. what?
Don't
What
drink
if?
another one.
Um, what if they had actually done something good with Bret Hart and WCW? That's the other big one. What if they hadn't botched the Sting Hogan match? What if they had done something with Bret the Hitman Hart? What if they hadn't had the restrictions placed on them by AOL Time Warner? And those are the big three um, changes. You end up with a very different story. What
Hi
does Daniel
Dan.
have to say now?
But yeah, let's. You know what? Next week, let's make it next week's topic.
You want to do? We're saying it right now. Next week we're doing Monday Night War.
Let's do Monday Night War. Let's each pick
Oh
three.
my God, it's happening!
We're gonna each pick three things to do a what if on the Monday Night War. We won't do any of the current week stuff. We're just gonna focus entirely on that topic and hear your thoughts about what's going on. Unless something amazing happens over the next week, then we'll cover that. But the rate
Obviously,
AEW and
obviously,
WWE were going this week, I don't think we'll have much to talk about.
John Cena can't turn heel again. He's not Dominic Mysterio.
Who's gonna do it for a third time? What if he can turn heel on himself? Or is that just
He's gonna
Master
turn
Magic?
heel on. He's gonna turn heel on Finn Balor. Watch. Um.
Yeah, so I guess Raw, since it was in the afternoon today. Let's jump
Oh,
back to the.
wait. I don't want to jump right to Raw. I want to talk about Austin. I want to talk about Austin for just
Okay.
a minute, because like he's the fucking fuck you. He's the double middle finger. Yeah, drink your Steve Weiser. Drink your Steve Weiser, and I want you to think about it. I want you to give me. I want you to be honest. What is your favorite one? Austin moment, and then two, Austin match. And anyone, if you're at home, I also want to hear from you on these. I want to hear your favorite Austin match. I want to hear your favorite Austin moment. Because what?
What?
Austin.
I mean,
All
I
right, so
know
go
mine
ahead, Nathan.
off the top of my head. My most iconic moment is when he was the doctor in the hospital and he hit Vince with the bedpan. That
Oh,
was
love it.
I love it. Honorable mention probably to him. I forget what he chucked in the river. Was it the IC title belt?
It was the Rock. It was the IC championship. Yes.
Yeah, honorable mention to that. That was great too. That to me, that stood out as just really iconic and like really like attention grabbing because like you didn't see that kind of shit back then. It was seen as faux pas to shit on a belt. And then favorite match. I mean, my favorite Austin match probably Brett versus Austin at WrestleMania 13. Probably with an honorable mention to I want to say he had a really good match with shit. I'm blanking on his name. Was it Sabio Vega during the build up to
Mhm.
the Austin 316? Uh,
To the king in the build up to the King of the Ring. I know
yeah,
the match you're
really good
talking
match.
about.
That's
Yeah,
an honorable mention for me. That was a really like they told a really good story and like
that
I
was
mean
a really that's a really underrated match.
yeah. Well, and honestly, his match with he has a steel cage match with Ric Flair, I think in 2002. when he was wrestling part time. He had a steel cage match with Flair, and that was a really good steel cage match, given the fact of Austin's limited mobility, and Flair really was just regaining himself, refining himself. So, yeah, those are probably mine. I don't know. What are yours?
Well, as far as match goes, I mean, I'm a huge Bret Hart fan, so naturally I'm inclined to go with WrestleMania 13. But for me, as far as match goes, and I we can go on and on about the finish, but his clash with The Rock at WrestleMania X7. To
That
me,
was
that match was so. I remember really specifically. My family took a vacation. I was like 17, 18 at the time. We took a vacation cross country. My we had a little TV VCR combo in the car that my brother and I could watch videotapes on. We wore out a tape of WrestleMania X7. What between the TLC match, the highly underrated European Championship match, the main event, Trish
that's the
Stratus.
best Mania of all time, in my opinion. But
Quite, yeah, I agree. I agree. Best Mania of all time. And a good portion of that goes to the main event, to The
well,
Rock and,
the
and Austin. Do I agree with Austin turning heel at the end of it? No, I think it does put a little bit of a sour note on it. However, the match itself was fantastic.
yeah, I guess I could understand that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to reduce someone's entire career down to a few moments when like Austin's the reason I got back into wrestling when I started not really liking it after the new generation stuff. Like I still watch Nitro with my dad and whatnot, but like it was WWF. To me it was all cartoonish bullshit. I was like 8, 9, 10 years old, and I was just like, I've lost interest clearly at this point.
Well, that actually leads into my favorite Austin moment really nicely. My favorite Austin moment was the confrontation with Mike Tyson in the lead up to WrestleMania against Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, which honestly,
When Austin got in the ring and shoved Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson, if you're younger and you're watching this, you might not really realize like Mike Tyson was not just it wasn't a character. He really was the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
yeah, like well,
And
that's why the whole Jake Paul thing versus Mike Tyson always, you're talking about a 60-year-old versus a 29-year-old or however old Jake Paul is.
the 60-year-old, we were all still saying he was going to whip his ass
Yeah,
because he was that
prime
bad of a man.
prime Mike Tyson. For those of you out there in the younger crowd, he bit off a guy's ear, part of his ear, in the middle of a boxing match.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Mm-hmm.
Mike Tyson was one bad motherfucker. Like,
And so the fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin was legitimately willing to get up in his face and shove him and just be like, fuck you, I'm the baddest around, that it added a level of credibility to Stone Cold and to the story that they were telling. It was great. It was perfect. Um,
well,
and it's my favorite. It's my favorite Austin moment.
which it's funny because that match that they had, that Michaels and Austin had at Mania 14, was not very good. Like that's one of my least favorite Mania
No,
moments.
no, it really
Because
was not a
some
great.
times where they're battling on the outside where it's like very obviously should have been a 10 count, and they're just like,
I, I I loved the finish. I
yeah,
loved
it's
the
like
finish, the super kick reversal into the stunner. I thought was a
beautifully done.
really great finish.
Like you
Uh,
could really tell that HBK was checked out, and
mhm.
come to find out years later, listening to Undertaker and all these other interviews, there was a genuine concern that HBK wasn't going to do what was right for business. The HBK we've come to know and love is much different than that guy then.
Yeah,
Um, so it's really interesting to watch how time has passed too. Whereas and obviously Austin's not a perfect guy. He had his fair share of issues. Obviously, he had the domestic violence case with Deborah. We can't glaze over that. So he's an imperfect human being. He's done a lot of work to right his wrongs, and we can give a nod to that as well. Um, it's nobody's perfect, and I'm not going to sit up here and profess I am. Brian won't either, despite the fact that we've portrayed characters that perfect.
But yesterday was 316 day, and so if you're a fan of Austin, like we are here on the Standards of Geekness podcast, and crack a Steve Weiser and give me a hell yeah.
Ah,
There we go.
All right, well
Glass shatter.
let's jump right into Raw. So Penta versus Kaiser, in my opinion, it's a no holds barred match. Best match of the night. My one point of contention for a no holds barred match, it was lacking in a lot of the no holds barred aspects. It could have been a little more
Hmm.
taking advantage of the outside, taking advantage of the fact that there's no rules, no holds barred. And instead, we just kind
I
of got a regular match with a little extra violence.
I was curious actually if that might have anything to do with the fact that they're on this like European tour, and there might be some different like guidelines given to them by you know the different countries in the European Union or whatever. I don't know that for sure. I'm just speculating. But I agree with you. I thought it could have been a little bit wilder.
Yeah,
Especially with his placement on the card right after that interview. Like everyone was ready for something high octane.
Dan wants to know if he can join. Let us
Dan,
wrap.
Dan,
Let's wrap
after
up Raw, bud. Let us wrap up Raw, and then you can come on, okay?
um,
Yeah,
definitely though, I would say it was the best match of the show. I'll go ahead and give you guys a bit of a spoiler now. As far as the match quality of tonight's Raw, today's Raw, however you want to put it, I was not that impressed.
yeah. Well, honestly, it was very talking heavy. Honestly, even Cody coming out during the Cena promo and like calling him a whiny little bitch and like I don't know about you, someone whips my ass, literally whips my ass that badly.
Mm.
We're not just talking. Even though he's talked the last couple weeks, I'm throwing hands. They should
I
have gotten
agreed with what
physical.
Cody said. I agree with what Cody said at the beginning when he was like, I was like everybody else. I wanted to hear what you had to say. After all the years you've had, I was willing to at least hear you out. But this is bullshit. Yeah, at that point, he should have just smacked him in the face. Like there should have been a physical confrontation between the two, because everything with The Rock and everything with the beating up of Cody, that just got glossed over and it was
Yeah,
nothing.
like it's a regular old feud, and I'm like, no, like they humiliated you, homie. You got left with a black eye for weeks, and I don't know about you. If somebody does that to me, they literally whip my ass. I'm throwing hands.
Okay, what it really is Cody has no real animosity for John Cena. But wait till he gets his hands on Travis Scott. By God, he's gonna whip that
Um,
rapper's ass.
oh man, Travis Scott better be careful. Bully Ray called him out on some things, and then Travis said he'd slap him. Bully Ray's gonna fucking demolish you, Travis. Keep your mouth shut. Just keep
Yeah,
walking.
Travis, shut your mouth when it comes to Bully Ray. You don't want any piece of that man.
There's literally a reason why Dave Bautista in his book said Bully Ray is an asshole. Literally a whole chapter to it. Don't fuck with him.
Don't fuck with him. Bully Ray is one of those guys who has learned to live the gimmick. Don't fuck with him.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, honestly, the rest of the matches, there's not a whole lot to write home about. I mean, easily the worst match of the night was Dakota Kai versus Ivy Nile, and honestly, I felt really bad for Ivy Nile. There were a lot of botches and a lot of while there were some fluid moments where like they were doing really good with suplexes and snapmares and things like that. it just felt very rehearsed, and it felt like very, you could tell it was choreographed, and they still weren't delivering correctly. Um, I'm at the point where I think Dakota Kai just kind of needs to go back to NXT and relearn some things. I just don't think, and it's no offense to her. I watch her stream from times. I enjoy her content. I just, the presentation character, this whole damage control, she's missing something clearly. Something is missing here, and I wish I could pinpoint it. Um, Maybe it's something she can get help with. I feel genuinely bad, but maybe go down to NXT, maybe work some of the indies that WWE's letting like Karrion Cross work and like things like that.
Well, legitimately, you don't even have to take. You like if you're trying to say these women are part of the mid card title picture for the main roster, it would be a very easy thing to merge the mid card title picture of the main roster with the main event title picture of the NXT roster. You could
Right.
make that a very fluid thing. I don't see any reason why the women's intercontinental title or women's United States title, both of them,
Couldn't
quite frankly,
couldn't be
couldn't
defended
be
there.
defended on NXT.
Well, and I think it's a perfect opportunity to get some exposure to young talent. It's a perfect way to build credibility with your title. The problem is SmackDown on Raw, and honestly, this is a problem that WWE and AEW have had, is that for so long they were bloated, and they still are. There's there's almost a bevy of too many riches and not enough
Hmm.
time to go around. And it's,
Yeah,
I get it. WWE's the big machine. They're signing talents. They want all the good talents. I get it. Eric, um,
was going in.
I just wish that there was a little bit more structure. And it goes for both WWE and AEW. I think having a little bit more defined plans. You don't have to share it with the world, but when it is transparently obvious that you're lacking in certain areas, it's time to take a step back, look, examine, be like, hey, what can I do to fix this? And if Triple H, if you're listening, or anyone in your family's listening, or anyone around there, go listen to our episode last time where we tell you how to fix your mid card. We just throw out some examples, but do something, please, for the love of God. Dakota Kai doesn't deserve this. Ivan Hale doesn't deserve this. Your talent doesn't deserve this. Do fucking better.
I I think that a lot of people, I know there are people that are really excited about certain aspects of WrestleMania, but I think you're buying into more of the glitz. It's a lot of sizzle, and I think not so much steak that we're getting. These a lot of what is being proposed for WrestleMania, what seems to be on the plate for WrestleMania, it it's very mid. It looks like a episode of Raw or SmackDown. Um,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
I think that's part of my
tonight we saw Rey Mysterio out there tagging again with Dragon Lee. I did want to ask you this: do you think?
no the my reaction to him tagging with Dragon Lee again.
Oh,
I was like,
gotcha. Yay. Okay,
I
I
meant
was
to
like,
say it,
what?
but
What?
my
I'm missing.
ADHD brain had already
Not
thought
hear
ahead.
me. Um. So my question for you is: do you think that the real reason that they're putting Ray and Dragon Lee in tag back on TV again is because we're actually going to get the Lucha Bros versus the
Yeah,
LWO?
I believe. Honestly, I believe that could be a Mania match for them. I could see that maybe being in. I think we'll get a heel version of the Lucha Bros versus Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee.
See,
I
if you were gonna, but if you were gonna turn Penta heel, why wouldn't you do that tonight?
Well, tonight was, well, they're in Europe and Kaiser's from Europe, so they're trying to give him a rub while they're over there. This is an ender of the
No,
feud.
no, fuck that, fuck that. Later on in the night, wait until later in the night. Like You have Dominic Mysterio go to Finn Balor and go, "Hey, I got this idea for someone to join the Judgment Day." Oh, really? Who do you got? Penta.
Yeah, there's a
Wait,
million different ways they can
Penta?
do it. Have Penta retire Ray. Like Survivor Series is going to be in San Diego next year or this year. So like,
I mean, I think it would have been incredibly interesting to have Penta tonight end up like screwing over Braun Breaker, helping Finn Balor win the Intercontinental Championship. It's not like you still can't do a big multi-man match for the Intercontinental title.
yeah,
That's the beauty.
that's
Is
the beauty of
but
it.
here's the thing. I really, really felt like I felt bad. I legit felt bad for that crowd tonight. For everyone who went to Raw, who paid for a ticket to Raw, I really just watched that and went, man, you guys all went to a show where nothing fucking happened. That didn't matter. That literally could get wiped off the face of the earth and wouldn't matter. Even John Cena coming out and delivering his promo. Great. But as we mentioned, there was a whole bunch that wasn't included in that promo. So at the end of the day, what'd you really miss? Him telling all the fans that he thinks they're assholes.
Hmm. Yeah. Hey, Mike, long time no see.
Mike James! Throw up
Tell
the E,
Andre's mom we
baby.
said hi.
Throw up that elite E, baby.
Yeah. So Jay Uso. So I think we were having. He had a match with Austin Theory tonight. I think we're at an interesting. There's two very interesting points here. There's this story going on that people don't believe in Jey Uso, but he's the Royal Rumble winner, which seems kind of conflicting. They've got this Jey Uso can't beat Gunther mentality, which I'm fine with them building up Gunther to be this immovable force that Jey has to overcome. That makes sense. But like, what the fuck are they doing having Gunther looking like he's getting intimidated by Jey and by other people? He's the ring general. He's supposed to be a menacing presence, and he's a world heavyweight fucking champion. This is the second or third time now where I've seen you make him look like a little bitch. He's not a chicken shit heel character. Please stop.
I really don't understand this like mentality either. Like for me, I think like what I would be doing right now is Jay goes out and beats name a wrestler. It doesn't matter who.
Austin
Um,
Theory.
Austin Theory, sure. So he goes out there, he beats Austin Theory, and I would have Gunther standing there at ringside, watching the match, watch the entire match. As soon as the match gets over, he grabs the mic and goes, "I'll give that one a solid 6.2,"
Yeah,
and walk
something
out.
something where he's condescending towards Jay, yet intimidating makes sense. And I'm okay with him getting a little physical as this builds up. Jay getting
Hmm.
frustrated and eventually snapping and just smacking the shit out of Gunther in the face.
Oh,
I'm fine with
absolutely.
it.
The Raw before Mania, these two should go at it in a straight pull apart that takes the entire fucking locker room to keep
Hmm.
them apart.
Well, and that's what
Absolutely,
they
one
should do.
hundred percent.
And there's also this dynamic with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, which I feel like they've reached their logical conclusion. I think Grayson Waller needs to turn on Austin Theory within the next couple weeks. Um,
Flip it, flip it, flip it.
I just don't. I think Austin Theory has a higher ceiling as a babyface. I don't buy Grayson Waller as a babyface.
I think Austin Theory turns on Grayson Waller. I think Austin Theory is a good heel, and then I think you put him on separate shows
Yeah,
because because I don't think as long as the two of them are on the same show on the same brand, it's gonna you gotta resolve something with them.
I
I think
personally,
you give them one good blow off match and then send them to separate shows.
yeah, I like I said, I would do it the other way. I would have Grayson Waller turn on Austin Theory. I'd have him bloody him, set up a steel cage match or something leading as a blow off, something that's a little bit more stakish, or like a loser leaves SmackDown or whatever, and then like whoever loses goes to Raw, and then I wouldn't have them cross paths for a year or two, and then I would
I
circle
would
back.
like to see. I would like to see Grayson Waller go to Raw. I think
He's been on
because
SmackDown a while. I think him going to Raw would be great there.
I'd like to
Kevin,
see the interaction. I'd like to see the interactions they could have because I think he's more entertaining on the mic than Austin Theory.
agreed, 100% agreed.
Uh,
So like, have you noticed that they have the Miz doing Miz TV and Grayson Waller doing the Grayson Waller effect on the same show?
mhm.
Like, it's too much.
It's oversaturation. I felt the same way with when Chris Jericho was on WWE,
The highlight
and
reel.
it would they would do the highlight reel. They had like Kevin Owens had his own show. The Miz had his own show.
Yeah.
Like it was
Well,
too much.
I think now thinking about things like and then what we talked about. I think the problem with this build up into Mania seasons, I don't sense the drama that I have in the past seasons. I haven't. There's not the tension of a boiling feud that's really kind of captured my imagination in WWE. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, the way they done that, that's still building. Holy shit! It's Scott Steiner's plumber. There's a lot of tension that could be built upon, but like I just don't understand the booking theory here from Triple H's standpoint, and I don't know if it's just focusing on match quality has been more of an issue. I don't think match quality outside of Ivy Nile and Dakota Nile has really been the issue. There's been good matches. There's been solid matches.
Well,
There's been bad matches.
I want to also say that I think part of why the match quality might have suffered on tonight's show is because they were over in Europe, and you have to travel, and the jet lag, lack of rest, all of that can drastically affect your performance. So
Definitely agree. I think we've all traveled and been affected by that. um,
well,
yeah,
not Daniel. Daniel doesn't leave his box. He's
just
not allowed out of Europe.
little,
Not allowed out of England.
shag fest, little shag fest with your Bradbury jam, your crumpets, and your tea, and your fat fingered king meeting our fat fingered president. But yeah, so yeah. Anyways, back to Dragon Lee and Mysterio. We're gonna circle back to that. So they had a filler match with the Creed brothers. I don't understand how they're looking American made. Like,
No, either American Made needs to be a legit team, or they need to be a comedy act. And you can't keep booking them in this halfway position.
it's 50. It's like Vince got the pen for half of it. That's what I'd compare this to. Like,
It's not even 50-50 booking.
well, they're not even getting
Like,
50. They're eating L's all the time.
when's the last time you saw the Creed brothers as anything legitimate?
NXT.
I'll answer that question. NXT.
Like, to me, and I get that, Rey Mysterio, he's not going to be around much longer. I think this is building up to having that Penta, Rey Fenix, Dragon Lee, and Rey Mysterio. The multi. At this point, just do a luchador battle royal where the ropes don't eliminate you. You can only lose if you get pinned outside.
Okay, now that would be okay. That's how we fix this right there. We need to have the new master of lucha.
Americano, named after a fucking coffee.
Is that what he's going under?
Yeah, golden opportunity, missing Mr. America here, for fuck's sake, by the way. I think it would have been hilarious to, like, subtly write out Hulk Hogan by, like, bringing in Chad Gable as Mr. America.
Well, ironically, this is one of those times where you actually could have had Hogan on WWE TV if done right, and the fans would have accepted it.
He could have been a good heel manager for them, honestly, if you think about it. Like, the heat he's getting. Think about it.
He's got the American beer. He's got the thing is I don't think I think Hogan is adverse to like losing money from being a heel and doesn't realize he could make money through the old, Eric Bischoff
I think the
controversy is king
reason
adage.
I think he's the reason Hulk's not been brought back and hasn't been asked to be brought back is probably because Netflix is like, we don't want to be associated with that.
And rightfully so. And
But
rightfully so.
hear me out. I think genuinely you could bring him back as a manager for American Alpha, make them a serious threat. Because right now they're just a comedy version of Team Angle.
And Team Angle was a comedy act half the time, so
I know, that's what I'm
make
saying. Like, it's
sure
a
of that.
gross idea. Seth Rollins. So I don't know what your guys' opinion on this is. I felt that
That was
promo.
the. I want to get this out. That was the worst Seth Rollins promo I have ever seen. Okay,
Agreed.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, I'm trying really hard to find positives here, and he's at least trying to build this story up. But like, this is like the third year in a row where Seth is the afterthought. And last year it made sense in the story they were telling. This year, he seems like he's a little disinterested, if I'm being honest. Like he's kind of phoning it in.
I am really disappointed in the idea that this is gonna be a triple threat.
Yeah,
because
I
I
think
would
Seth
like
Rollins
any one, any pair. Give me any pair of these three. I don't care if it's CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. I don't care if it's Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. I don't care if it's Roman Reigns and CM Punk. I I would rather see two of them go one on one in a fucking banger at Mania, and let the third one sit at home. I hate to say that, but it's true. And the one who, honestly, I hate to say it,
Seth.
make Roman sit at home.
No.
Roman is the one that doesn't fit here. I'm sorry. You can disagree with me. I know he's the fucking tribal chief and everything, but look, if he was doing something with Solo, I'd be like, okay. If he was doing something with The Rock, I'd be like, okay. If he was doing something with Jacob, I'd be like, okay. If he was doing something with, even if he was doing something with Jay again, I would be like, okay. But everything about Roman Reigns has been built on emotional stakes and storytelling. And now you're trying to drudge up a bullshit feud between, bullshit emotion between Roman and Punk. As opposed, look, why don't you go with the real story? Why don't we just bring up the real story? This entire time, Seth Rollins has told everybody how he's the architect, how the Shield was his design. And how about we finally have Roman Reigns go, you know what? I'm just going to settle this. That's a bullshit story. It was Punk's idea, and then we kicked him out.
I mean, that is true.
I could agree with that. I actually think you don't have to sit any one of the three out. I think you could have Punk or not Punk. You could have Roman and Seth have a one-on-one match at Mania. I think Punk's going to use his favor, and I just have this idea across my hat. We don't even need to involve a title with this. What's a dream match that could relate to tonight's episode that Punk has wanted, that the WWE Universe has wanted, that could get the whole universe chanting, "Oh, give me a hell yeah!" Just like he did with
Oh
KO.
my god. Oh my god. Okay. Well, hey, happy 316 day, Daniel.
Punk.
There was one little part of the Stone Cold conversation that we said we were going to talk about. You and I said we were going to talk about. We haven't talked about it yet. I think now's the time.
Idea just popped in my brain.
That was The Rock's gesture. 1, 2, Cena.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been wondering, is there another man? Oh my God! Let Austin come back as a heel with one more match against Punk. Punk
Mm-hmm.
teaming up alongside. Oh my God! Yes, I would be so for it, Evan. I would be so for it, and
Hey,
that would
Triple
be
H,
like a Seth Rollins running down with a Money in the Bank briefcase to cash in at 30. That would be the fucking
you're even
savior.
gonna waddle down
Fuck
after him
yes.
in that long ramp.
And make Hulk Hogan the manager.
Um,
No, he's busy with the Creed brothers. Catch up.
it's getting him oiled up for their match with Americano, so they can stretch Rey Mysterio out like Scott Steiner's pumping buddy here.
Who is the man behind the mask?
The man behind the Chad Gable mask.
Chad Gable.
Well,
It is.
So
they brought it up tonight on Raw. They made sure to make a point to show there was somebody else wearing that mask, and I I have to agree. I think there's another person involved.
I don't think it's Ray Phoenix because they have literally just teased his debut. So I don't think it's
Ray Phoenix will be team. That's all leading to a Lucha Bros versus LWO match. Like that's what that's leading towards. It might be a good match. You know, it might be a good match. It's just going to be real low on the card. I would not be surprised to see that match like as the curtain jerker for night one.
you mean the Daniel Roberts piss break match? Piss break match.
My matches aren't that bad. I mean,
I've seen the data.
Strategically.
The charisma vortex that is Daniel Roberts. But yeah, Punk versus Austin. I mean, set it up as a one-on-one. You could have Austin turn heel, helping The Rock. That gets a little convoluted. It's an interesting way to get the favor out of the way, and it easily surpasses Gunther and Jay as a main event, making it justifiable to not have them go on last.
but I think the problem with Jay and Gunther is like you have to make it the main event because that is literally what you promised at the Rumble.
Yeah, and they promised they had Austin and KO be the night one main event a few years ago.
It is where you act like it would be some new thing for them to have the world title match as the opening match, but Edge versus Del Rio at 27, that was the opening match. Why not?
But I think it's more just the fact
And
that
it's not like the title matches always need to be the last match of the night either.
But I think the difference between Edge and Jay is right now Jay needs that boost, and putting him in mid card or even at the start of the show, I think is just gonna make his title reign seem weak.
Well, then it'll match the energy they put into building the story.
Isn't that on the build? Like straight up, man. I'd love to give some forgiveness to this, but I've been saying since day one that it was a mistake for Jey Uso to win the Royal Rumble. I've been saying it was a mistake. If you were going to have him win the Royal Rumble, he shouldn't have lost to Gunther a week before.
Could have at least made that like a disqualification win, or like a Gunther gets himself counted out. So, you can protect both people. No, that was a clean match. He was defeated cleanly, and like honestly, what kind of makes it worse is like this Raw we had Gunther versus Axiom recently on SmackDown. Yeah, I believe it was this last week on SmackDown where Gunther and Axiom had a match in Barcelona, and
there's more build to that than
he kicked out of the powerbomb.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, it was.
I gotta agree. That's a huge mistake. You can't be having guys kick out of finishers
from your world champion
this close to Mania.
See,
you gotta have them mean something.
see, I understand him being NXT champion, so you had to kind of protect him a little bit.
Yeah. I think I'm far more interested in having Punk versus Austin be the night one main event.
But you still could have done it differently. Look, imagine this, okay? Gunther hits the power bomb, right? Jay is there. Jay starts yelling just long enough to distract Gunther for 3-4 seconds before he goes for the pin. That little bit of a distraction is enough to give Axiom the ability to kick out.
Yeah.
Protect Gunther.
Make sense and justify in a way that makes sense too. I don't know. To me, it just kind of felt like, okay, he can kick out of it, but Jay can't.
I also feel like, especially that
because Jay's not a real main eventer. Just putting the words main event in front of your name don't actually make you a main eventer. Just saying.
Well, yeah, but the Axiom guy's not going to be a main eventer either.
He's a main eventer where he is. He's a main eventer where he is.
Okay, fair, but that's developmental.
Okay.
But, like, I'm not trying to shit all over everything. Like, it's Mania season. I'm trying to find the positives. Triple H, please do the Punk versus Austin match. Austin's recovered from his surgeries now. He can take some bumps now. Make it happen. That's the only thing that makes sense. This favor. There's only two things that could happen here, in my opinion. Cashes in the favor to get a match with Austin, to get that main event, to steal it away from someone, or he cashes in on Jey Uso after he beats Gunther. The only things that
All right. I love it when I get to back you up with facts. All right, so a couple weeks ago, Chris was on the pod, and we were talking about the infamous favor question, and I said several times that it doesn't make any sense for CM Punk to be cashing it in for a title match because Paul Heyman does not have any authority to make title matches. However, Paul Heyman does have quite the history with various wrestlers that he has managed over the years, including in WCW when Paul Heyman managed Steve fucking Austin.
Mm-hmm. Well,
there's definitely some legs there.
The Austin thing makes way more sense now. And it would... Do you know how loud the building would erupt if that becomes the main event of the night? Like, in Vegas. Because Austin lives in Vegas now. Like, in Nevada. Like, the Broken Skull Ranch is out there in Nevada.
Yeah, he said it's a 4-hour drive to the arena.
Yep. And if you're going to do it now.
And Austin has said already that he will be there. So, like, this isn't hyperbole. Like Austin has said he'll be in the building.
Exactly. And then finally, excuse me, guys, I've been up since 4:30 this morning. The joys of toddlers.
Excuses.
I'm surprised you not having that yet.
Finn Balor versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. So I found it incredibly weird that Judgment Day wasn't with Finn to begin the match. That's clearly a signal that they're doing something to break them apart at some point, in my opinion. This match was... Brian and I have differing opinions. So I think it was a serviceable C+, B- match. It wasn't anything to write home about. Some people I've seen online have called it a good match. I call it middle of the road. Brian, you think it's
I did not enjoy it. I didn't think it was a good match for multiple reasons. All right, so first off, I got to say this. This is about the hype. If you're going to hype an Intercontinental title match, and your plan is to hype it with video footage of the WrestleMania 3 clash between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and the Macho Man Randy Savage, do you understand the level you're expecting these guys to live up to? So already WWE, fuck you for doing that. Like no two wrestlers should have that kind of weight put onto their shoulders going into a match.
Yeah,
All right.
that was ridiculous.
If they were to have had a classic tonight, let them have the classic on their own. Just let the classic happen.
It writes itself.
Yeah, I like it. What?
What?
The action between the two, I did like I saw the story they were trying to tell, where Finn repeatedly had the answer to Braun Breaker's spear. He like reversed the spear into the sling blade like 4 times. And this is a fault of the commentary staff. I'm sorry, Michael Cole, you've been doing the job a long time, but this is one of those where you need to point out that Finn might just have Braun's number here.
Yeah, that was
Like,
a failure
I'm
on his
sorry,
part.
it like you're already. We know that wrestling heights and weights get like distorted. When these guys are in the ring, they announced Finn Balor at 190 pounds. Already, just by doing that, you're setting up a certain standard, you know, that says Finn is weaker
Mm-hmm.
because he's underneath that 200 mark. He's not even a 205 guy, you know. He
Yeah,
doesn't even make the 205.
I
Yeah.
thought he was over 205, wasn't he, at some point? Unless
he's
got
gotten like extra cut over the last couple of years, where he's like
Okay, that makes sense.
super
I
like
he was,
ripped for his size. He's only like 5'6".
Yeah, yeah. He's not a big guy. My next point that I didn't like in this match came with this is a lot of this is production, by the way, if you notice, and this shows how important good production is in a wrestling show. All right, so you let this is your main event that you have built the entire show to, right? These two get in the ring. Wait, I'm gonna rewind just a little bit. Finn makes his goddamn entrance. Commercial break. We come back from commercial break. Braun makes his entrance. We announce the beginning of the match. These two lock up, hit 4 moves on each other, commercial break.
Yeah, I don't think they time these commercials very well. And I mean, I know we could pay for the version that doesn't have commercials if we really
See, I
want
know
to.
it's obviously probably different for you guys because I've seen you're on Peacock, I believe.
No,
We watch on Netflix. Watching on Netflix.
Okay, because I thought, boy, you usually just skip you through the entire ads and you could just watch the.
yeah, like we can pay for it. I just
There is
choose
a
not
more
to.
expensive version. There is a more expensive version of Netflix you can pay for that doesn't have the commercial breaks.
Gotcha.
But I don't even. The thing is, Dan, you can still choose where the commercial breaks are versus where the action is. And when you choose to start a commercial break right after the main event begins,
Yeah.
That's just bad.
I mean, because we can't go. It's not like they went back and they showed what was happening during the commercial
No.
break. They don't do that anymore because there are the people who are paying the more expensive service, and so they're watching through the commercial and break, and that would be jarring to them. It's bad fucking planning, and especially when you just had a fucking commercial break after the first entrance, to then immediately follow that up with another commercial break in the match.
They could have waited till like halfway through the match, I think, to like when they're doing the the headlock cooldown thing where like typically happens. It's very obvious they're going into a commercial.
Like I swear to God, you probably get more commercial breaks.
You couldn't even
you do and get.
You couldn't even figure out. You couldn't even figure out before they went to commercial break. You couldn't even figure out who was establishing early control in the match. Come on, I should be able to see more than 4 moves into the main event before you switch it over to a fucking commercial break.
Yeah. I do think Judgment Day has ran its course as it currently is constructed. I do think Dirty Dom needs to take the reins. I think they need to turn on Finn. That'll make Dom a triple heel turn guy.
Well, that brings me to my next point. So we had this whole show tonight for the wonderful people of Brussels. And by the way, I do want to add my favorite thing from the show tonight was the un de sacre bleu. I want that to be brought into every show, every indie show I work from now on, every Raw, every SmackDown. 1, 2, sacre bleu. I think that's hilarious.
That is hilarious.
But
yeah,
but you needed to have something else happen tonight.
mhm.
Whether it was Finn wins the title, Dom and the Judgment Day all turn on Finn. Penta came out. I would have been down with them all turning on Finn, screwing him over, and Penta being a new member with Dom being the leader, and all that happening tonight. I would have been like, cool.
Would have been something. Well, hell, and like, if you're gonna do something, now would be the time to do it. Like, as it stands right now, Judgment Day has no direction. Every time they're in a position to win a title, they've lost outside of the women's tag belts. Like,
I think what they need is
Well, part of that is I do think part of that is because of JD McDonough's injury.
yeah,
Like,
which is fair, and he's been out for a while, but like, pull the trigger, bring in a new member, kick Finn out, bring in, then you got Carlito, Dom, you got a lot of options here, and I don't want to see Aleister Black with them. I don't.
No, it doesn't.
No, as weird
it would have fit
as weird as it sounds. As weird as it sounds, like, what if they brought back Priest?
No.
Too much has happened there. They feuded for so long.
Yeah, and I think there's just no really going back. You can't go back to a faction. I mean, obviously, every faction does eventually reunite, whatever. But I just
like, that'd be like Rhea going back at this point too. Like,
she doesn't need it.
They don't. Neither of them need it.
Well, okay. Well, I think Rhea and Dom are both in very different places. See, the thing is like Rhea is still very much doing something that's interesting on TV. I don't think that Dom is doing anything interesting on TV. I don't think that. I
don't think Judgment Day is doing.
I don't think that Drew. I don't like Drew. I feel like with that whole thing with Dom and Drew, like neither of them. Nobody wants to be there. Damien doesn't want to be there. Drew doesn't want to be there. I keep saying Dom. There's too many fucking D names.
Honestly, I think they need to call NXT to join the Judgment Day. I think that's just got to happen. I can't really see anyone on the wall that really fits well.
Yeah, and so we're getting a triple threat at Mania with Rhea, Io, and Bianca. We're all in agreement, right? Like that has to be happening at this point.
Yeah, that's absolutely happening.
And then
and honestly, it was the only part of the show tonight that felt like it had any coherence for like the future of the story.
Drama. And I'm gonna be honest with you, SmackDown this last week was kind of bad. The only part I found enjoyable was Drew costing Damian Priest the match and then beating the shit out of him. That was a vicious stomp, by the way. Holy shit! Like he legit stomped on his skull.
Drew is one of the best things in WWE right now. He has been for the last year. A huge credit needs to go to him for everything with him and CM Punk. The dude got over a fucking charm bracelet. Like if we can
he carried that feud for months because Punk was on the shelf
with a charm bracelet.
Well, and not to mention, like, you think about the pandemic era when he was the top guy, like, he carried the WWE through kind of a weird period for everybody. Like, Roman wasn't there.
I feel like there's a certain guard that needs to change a little bit, and I'd like to see I'd like to see Drew actually get his due. I'd like to see Seth not feel like an afterthought. I'd like to see Kevin Owens not feel like a jobber to the stars. I'd like for Sami Zayn to not feel like he's relevant right up until February.
It's kind of sadly true every year.
I still think the best pick to join Judgment Day would be Logan Paul.
I don't hate it for that reason. I kind of physically want to vomit when I hear his name.
But
that said,
well, that's kind of the point, you know.
I'm not against it because the two of the biggest heels in the WWE in terms of people don't like them, Dominic Mysterio, Logan Paul. Bring them together.
And they're already good friends backstage, so why not just put them together?
I don't know. I mean,
I get the impression that Dom is actually good friends with pretty much everybody backstage. Like
he grew up.
Dom is a kid who grew up in this industry, just like Randy Orton did. So like, they fit into the picture differently, you know. But I Logan Paul is an interesting option to join the Judgment Day. I actually have a different one.
See, my second option would have been Eddie Thorpe, but I feel like that's still too early for him.
What if I said I have a different one for you?
Shoot.
All right, so this one might feel a little more like the original incarnation of the Judgment Day. What about Aleister Black?
No. See, it would have fit quite well with Edge's kind of Judgment Day, but this modern one.
I mean, you have to remake the whole group's image, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd have to boot Carlito. You'd have to go darker. Then you could justify bringing Priest back into the fold. You know, maybe Rhea.
Carlito. Okay, wait. Carlito. Right now, you definitely need more active wrestlers. Okay, whether Carlito's a part of it or not. Carlito's not an active wrestler, not really.
He's just there to bump. Like he's a part timer who bumps and plays video games in the background.
Here's a good interesting pick.
Oh my god.
What about AJ Styles? I mean, it would be kind of feel like Bullet Club kind of.
Depressed AJ Styles wasn't good for business in TNA. It's not good for business in WWE. Hold on a second. I'm going to check on my cat.
See, I think, like, I understand the idea of Penta. Like, Ray brought up the Penta idea today. Or, sorry, Dom brought up the Penta idea today. And I think that makes sense in a couple different ways because most of the members of Judgment Day as a whole have always been non-American.
True. But I got another interesting pick. This might be a weird pick, but I think it could work. Braun Breaker.
No. Braun Breaker should not be teaming with anyone except
his cousin.
Potentially his cousin.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, I feel like we had to talk about his IIT title reign, and it just feels very lackluster, like Shinsuke's was.
Yeah, honestly.
So Braun Breaker was a guy who they tried to do a long undefeated streak with, kind of thing, and that worked on the initial run, which it usually does. But just like the original Goldberg run and stuff, they didn't really know where to go to from there. They teamed him up with Baron Corbin and made him a tag team wrestler after that, and then they brought him to Raw and now his character and stuff isn't as fleshed out for himself as it should be, which makes it very difficult. A lot of the guys on NXT get a lot more time to actually flesh out the personality of their character before they come to the main roster. That's not happening with Braun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he's doing it in real time. The kid's hella athletic. Like,
see, I can't tell who's had a bigger fall from grace, Ron Breakker or Carmelo Hayes. I mean, both were NXT champions and have just failed.
Oh, absolutely, Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes has become nothing but a jobber.
Is a star. Are you on crack?
I just feel like, obviously, yes.
The problem with the booking isn't Braun Breaker; it's who they're booking him against. They keep booking him against these super small guys that can do good flips.
Sure. Braun Breaker needs to start going through some monsters.
He needs to start eating some meat.
As a matter of fact, Braun Breaker, like, I would have him drop the Intercontinental title in a multi-man match where he didn't have to take the fall, okay? And then no matter what happens with Gunther and Jey Uso, just have them go up to Gunther and be like, I want you. And I think it'd be a fun feud for Gunther, who rolls through most people, to be like, I don't want any part of you.
See, I feel like Braun Breaker should be treated kind of like Goldberg, not in his style, but like just someone who wants to fight people.
See, I personally think I would treat him like his uncle, the Big Bad Booty Daddy. He's one of the baddest men around, and he's proving it in the ring and on the mic. And he's just here to kick your ass. And they're doing that, but they need to kind of dial it up a notch. I just had a thought about who could join the Judgment Day.
Bring back the chainmail. Give him the chainmail. That'll work.
Is it Stone Cold?
No. Yeah. Braun Strowman.
Braun.
The monster among men. It would be a way to reset and give them a heavy. Have Dom be the leader. Have Braun kind of be like the muscle.
Ooh. I like where you're going with it, but I don't know how close he is to coming back.
Omos.
Bronson Reed.
Oh.
He's quite a ways off. That kind of an injury is at least a 6-month heal.
Why does no one care about my boy Omos?
No one care about Omos. He's a nice guy. Just you have a weird obsession with gigantic men that you're like Vince.
That can't talk.
I mean, he's won titles.
Yeah, he's won titles. The problem is,
so does Great Khali.
Omos can actually talk. Like, they've interviewed him, and like he was in Japan, and they did an interview with him, and he can actually talk. The problem is the way they presented his characters, he can't talk.
In my personal opinion,
if you want to get Omos actually over, you need to get him with Paul Heyman.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be the only way to truly get Omos over. And I would also rebrand him a little bit. It wouldn't just be like Omos the Nigerian Giant. I would find a way to bring that menace back to it. Be the guy that Brock Lesnar.
I would turn Omos into Roman Reigns' personal security.
Ooh.
Like the whole because you think about it, and you go, okay, Roman Reigns is a bad motherfucker. Like, you don't want to fuck with Roman Reigns. He's the tribal chief, and this is his security guard. He
doesn't even have to go outside his family for that, though. He's got a cousin, Kukulo, that's signed to WWE's into their developmental program. He's 7 foot tall as well.
Make him a tag team.
Wait,
Samoan Towers.
But wait, that's just giving Omos his old.
I know.
That's just giving Omos his old War Underground gimmick, where he was just a bodyguard, which he did quite well with that. To be fair, he was just on the door.
Here on the Standards of Greatness podcast, we don't like to talk about Raw Underground.
That is the naked median of shows.
Here's an interesting question. I want your guys' general opinion on this.
You know, it's a good episode when I break Brian.
Is it time to bring, and this is a two-parter, is it time to bring Trick Williams up to the main roster? If yes, should he be paired with Carmelo Hayes again?
No. You can't have that kind of feud with them, the way it ended, and bring them paired up with each other. No. You need to bring. What I would do is I would have Trick Williams come up to the main roster either after Mania this year or after the next Royal Rumble or at the next Royal Rumble.
Have Trick.
The pop that whoop that Trick's going to get at the main level is going to be huge, but he still has a few kind of things he needs to dial in.
Have Trick Williams debut on the main roster and declare himself for the King of the Ring.
Fuck you.
That Carmelo Hayes is already entered. And then you put the two of them at opposite ends and let them go all the way to the finish. Let the King of the Ring finals be a rematch between Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes.
Truer words have never been spoken, Eric, and truer words have never been spoken.
Oh!
Getting burned by hashtag Xander logic.
You were such a nugget.
We've got some breaking news for everyone here on the podcast.
That you're a nugget? That's not break. We know you're a nugget.
We know you're a little dick, but...
Not that. I am not a nugget.
Finally! Yes! Oh! I've been waiting! Fucking you don't even know! Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad this happened live because Daniel is so oblivious that he doesn't even know what he just did. But I have been planting these seeds for weeks. Daniel Roberts, you are a nugget. and see, here's the thing. Several weeks ago, I started telling Daniel in chats, in little conversations that he was a nugget. Why are you calling me a nugget? I don't get it. What is a nugget? You're calling me a chicken nugget. I don't understand. I just kept at it. You're a nugget. You're a nugget. You're a nugget. Just waiting because I knew eventually you would say those magic words. I am not a nugget. Evan, who is he quoting?
I actually can't recall off the top of my head.
Owen Hart! Owen Hart complained endlessly that he wasn't a nugget.
Oh, I'm recalling.
Oh my gosh! Thank you, Daniel. You just made my night. I'm so glad to know that you are indeed a blue blazing nugget.
Nugget.
Yeah.
Nugget.
I'm not a nugget, Roberts. But anyway,
I don't know. I prefer the piss break match, Robert.
So, in
What?
2 weeks, I will be at Monday Night Raw.
Nice.
So I will get to see the action live, and we'll be able to talk about it on the podcast and what I see up close. So that means that you're going to make a whole bunch of people stay there after the show with you, so that we can record the pod with you with a bunch of crazy drunk Brits on the pod at like what is it, like 3 a.m. there?
Yeah, 2:30.
I was close.
It's dedication. It's dedication. You would not be catching my ass up that late for that.
I mean, I once stayed up till 5 a.m. with most of you.
Fair. So yeah, AEW this week. So
Oh no.
AEW this week wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. I will give them credit before we dive into it. They all were doing a much better job of selling injuries and effects of their matches than they have been in the past. They're starting to learn.
I'm glad. I'm glad there are definitely members of the AEW roster that watch the pod. That's helpful.
I mean, let's just get the good out of the way. Tony Storm, fucking fantastic once again.
Who put Dan in charge? Who let Dan take over the fucking pod?
I know. Time out. I am God. I am
Owen was a
God.
nugget. This is, oh,
Wait, hold on. I thought you were Jamaican.
Where'd your Jamaican accent go? Yeah, so Tony Storm, she's the best promo and the most entertaining thing in AEW these days. The innuendo-laden erotic orgy-themed promo was not something I saw coming, no pun intended, but kind of.
There was a bit of a pun.
Everybody knows I love me some Tony time. I've been a huge fan of Tony Storm for a while, but this whole run with Mariah May has been gold with her. Mariah May's run with the title was kind of lackluster. They took the title off her. Now Tony's opening every gal to toss in her keys to the bowl.
I actually want to pause you there. I disagree a little bit because I'm not trying to say Mariah May's title reign set the world on fire or anything, but I really do think that this whole thing with Tony really made it something, at least the end of it, into something special.
Yeah, I agree with that. The problem. So let me rephrase that. My problem with Mariah's reign was the challengers and the intermediary. It didn't feel like it matched quite up to what we got from them in the start. And then when they circled back around to it, it was like lightning got stuck back in the bottle again. They did a really good job. They're getting really good with the cliffhangers when it comes to that. What I thought was actually hilarious about this promo was just the innuendo and the fact that like she has an old school speech style and the way she delivers it, but also Megan Bain, who coming out and laying her out of the dark, was done so well from a presentation standpoint that like not only did Tony look really good up on the stage there, but Megan came out looking like $1,000,000, like a real threat to her. Megan's still relatively new to AEW, so her challenging for the world title off the bat is a little interesting. I'd be curious how they do that.
It's an interesting point you're making here because I mentioned when we were talking about Raw how specifically in that main event the errors that I felt there were from a production standpoint, and we don't give AEW a lot of praise, but we really don't talk about how the backstage and everything affects the show that often. But I think it really is shining clear right here in this moment. It's showing the production put in on AEW and where it's shining. This is something that AEW is doing very well with the production, and where WWE is kind of faltering a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, AEW's got the best camera crew in the business, in my opinion. They always seem to get the right angles at the right time. I'm interested to see how they portray Megan Bain going into this. I don't think having Tony drop the title right away makes sense. But I don't think Megan can take a loss.
No.
Cleanly. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they balance making sure they don't book themselves through a corner.
I think this is where you get Mariah May back involved.
So soon, even though they just had their Hollywood ending.
Yeah, I still think.
Well, you're okay. Yeah, there is the point that they said it is the Hollywood ending and everything.
But like Hollywood, they're like cash grabs.
I think honestly, I would have Mercedes Moné get involved, just despite the fact that I think she's a charisma vortex.
Mercedes Moné, okay, for everything that Tony Storm is great about, AEW and the AEW women's division, I feel the exact opposite about Mercedes Moné. Every time that Mercedes Moné has been on TV for the last 2 months, okay, honestly, all all I feel like is so. Here's AEW's version of Charlotte. I'm not like I don't think Charlotte Flair's character is interesting on WWE. Why would I think it's interesting in AEW?
The truth is, and I think you should probably agree with me on this, that her character has not evolved from the Sasha
It's
Banks boss
it's
character.
just Sasha Banks with a different name.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we've gone over this several times, but we're heading into double or nothing season, and it's going to be a big stadium show in Texas. Mercedes Moné, despite the fact that we all agree she's not very good
No.
as a character,
I think she's the weakest out of the 4 horsemen.
Okay.
Which we
said. Okay, well, think about the 4 horsemen though for a minute. Like the difference is like Mercedes Moné is nothing but Sasha Banks in 2018. Okay, it's the exact same thing. Bailey, her character's evolved. Charlotte's character, for as minimal as it is, has tried to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Becky Lynch has evolved.
Multiple
Why
times.
is it that Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné or whatever you want to fucking call her has been the exact same goddamn character for like 7 years?
Because she's living on that reputation, also the Star Wars stuff, she's trying to use that as her brand, but that brand is stale. It is.
Brands evolve. Good brands evolve.
Absolutely. But I think as we head into double or nothing season, the logical place is to move her up to face Toni Storm. It's the only challenger that they've kind of built that makes sense. I don't like it. I don't think Mercedes and I think Toni Storm should be.
Then it has to be money coming for her title. Like the collection time has come, and Toni Storm is the last belt to collect.
I think Mercedes Moné interferes in Megan Bayne and Toni Storm's match. Basically Toni Storm loses via DQ somehow, or like wins via DQ. Mercedes Moné beats the shit out of her, picks up the AEW Women's World Title, and says, "CEOs come to collect," and then just ends it, walks out. But wait, that's too much charisma. Let me dial it back. Wait, still too much charisma.
She just does this.
But,
just does this. Yeah.
Sorry, it's really fucking like I can't do a Sasha Banks impersonation, but that's as close as
it's cringe. It's cringe. Can we just agree that it's cringe?
And that was the point of my joke.
It's cringy as fuck.
Is it weird that I feel like the women's division is right now being held together by glue by 4 women? Toni Storm, Ray, Mercedes Moné, unfortunately, and Harley, what's her name?
Cameron. I think if they gave her a serious look and like built her correctly, she could be
Harley Cameron.
But you know what they have her doing instead? She gets to be Harley Graham in a luchador mask with hologram because my name's Tony Khan and my wrestlers are action figures.
Do you ever think
out there that was a joke?
Legit question? Do you ever think that Tony Khan just like puts all the AEW wrestlers into like WWE 2K24 in the universe mode, and then like his continue and sees whatever match that pops out with the next week? He's like, okay, we're going with this, and then like the roster has to make sense of it. Is that like I think that might be how the booking goes over there.
Honestly, no, I still too much charisma into it. It's not gimmick infringement. There's charisma in it. I did appreciate Kenny Omega coming out and kicking off the show. I'm interested to see what new challengers they build up through this tournament for him. We're going to get Ricochet versus Shibata as one of the matches. That's going to be a banger. And I do find it hilarious that Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata's faction is now called the Ops.
Yeah, that's just...
What would you think about them building to a Ricochet Omega match?
So, I think I've realized what my problem is with Ricochet before I get into this. Every time I hear the name Ricochet, I think of that WB Kids show that would be on every morning before I would go to work at the when you guys remember he was Mucha Lucha or whatever the fuck it was, or Lucha Lucha.
Lucha, lucha.
The kid had a fucking like bowling ball head, and like it's very clearly like Rey Mysterio inspired at the time. But that's all I fucking hear when I hear his name. I need him to change his
It's
name.
funny you say that because I actually think of Mucha Lucha every time I hear the lucha, lucha, lucha.
Um,
And now you will too.
yes.
Welcome to my world.
So I personally think that he needs to kind of refresh his brand a little bit. Leave Ricochet in the past. Everything's there. I think this heel persona is working. Yeah, he lost a Swerve, but he looked like a star in the process. The name doesn't fit anymore. That's my problem with this whole thing, and that's been the missing piece I've been thinking about today. I am down with him winning the Dynasty Tournament and challenging Omega. Absolutely down with it.
Like they could definitely have a banger of a match.
Yeah, honestly, I think you could have Ricochet go over on Omega there in that situation, and it'd be fine. So I'm torn with how I felt about this whole patriarchy segment they had, where Christian tried to play it off like it was a bullshit and he should get his contract back, but like Nick Wayne awkwardly calling him a liar, and then the rest of them all criticizing him.
The whole Nick Wayne thing. Okay, see the problem is we've seen this multiple times now. Like we need something different with Nick Wayne. If you're gonna do the Nick Wayne starting to doubt Christian thing, like we already saw that out of Jungle Boy, we already saw that out of Luchasaurus.
Yeah,
you got to make it different.
Have them turn on heel on Christian. Have him need Edge's help.
And then Edge gives him a hug and says, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah, I don't know. So apparently, I don't know how confirmed this is, but apparently the whole reason they used the contract because they just wanted to be done with it. If that's true, that is booking negligence.
That is beyond, negligent. That's negligent, and it's horrible writing. It's bad planning. Look, if you're straight up, you should have had a plan for what to do. You should have had a plan what to do with that contract before you had the match with that contract. As soon as you came up with that contract, you should have known where it was fucking going, Tony.
Yeah, like at this point, he's had that contract for over a year, right?
Honestly, I personally think he's lying. I think there was a plan for it. But they just missed
that doesn't. You still commit to the plan. Have him. He should have. You could. I'm pretty sure they're going to have Edge go over on Moxley here next week. Have him cash in then. Set up the storyline there to extend that, and then have Swerve challenge Edge afterwards. But now we're going to get Moxley versus Edge next week. Edge will go over, face Swerve. And the crowd went fucking mild. Moxley could go over. Moxley versus Swerve, and the crowd went even more fucking mild.
I mean, I feel so sorry for Moxley. I mean, he left.
I don't feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for the audience. Like, I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. Jon Moxley needs to stay as far away from the AEW World Heavyweight Championship scene. Once this is done, I don't want to see him near that title for at least a year.
I think he should go to GTW.
But the fact is Jon Moxley again it's the same Tony Khan fucking action figure booking. Like Tony has not updated his Jon Moxley action figure in almost as long as his Mercedes Moné action figure.
Yeah, his last update was to give him the curb stomp as his signature move.
The fact is, Jon Moxley, there's a whole era of his career as Dean Ambrose that you're never going to be able to erase, okay? But at the same time, it doesn't do you any good to keep reminding people that he was Dean Goddamn Ambrose. What do you really think you're going to do with a curb stomp? You think you're going to get Seth Rollins to come over to AEW and have a match? Fuck that. Like, the only way it becomes interesting is if you have all three members of the Shield under the same roof again. Well, that ain't happening.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Like,
honestly, I think it might happen in the next 5 years. I guarantee. I'll put money on it.
I'll tell you what. We'll put a dinner on it, Dan. Here and now. You say it's going to happen in 5 years. If it happens, I'll buy you a dinner.
So
if it doesn't,
deadline December 31st, 2030.
No, St. Patty's Day, except in 2030.
Okay.
We're gonna do 5 years. We're gonna do 5 years.
Oh yeah, that would be 5 years. Yeah.
And Dan, I'll get in on this too, because I expect it to be a nice dinner. You're not taking us to McDonald's, okay?
I know you guys don't know what seasoning is over there, but we season our food here. You know, salt and pepper. There's more seasonings than that.
I mean, I should know, Evan. I should know.
Oh, you should. You should, but you don't.
I do. How did you work there?
MVP and MJF. So this segment was the opposite of the last one, in my opinion.
Chef's kiss gold.
This was a really good segment. I could believe MJF joining the Hurt Syndicate. It'd be really interesting. It would give MJF something new to work with. Because I think that's been kind of missing from his character. The teasers with him and Hangman after their match was great, with him telling him basically to fuck off was pretty funny. And then they kind of ended the show somewhat awkwardly with Ospreay enters the Owen. Like, that's your main event. Yay.
You know, I'm so like.
I think there's a weird. See, I don't think there's any understanding in how to book Will Ospreay either.
I was going to say that.
I don't think he understands how to book.
How is Will Ospreay not just on this meteoric rise right now? That should be the story. I'm not saying he should be challenging for a title. It should just be win after win after win. Who can possibly slow down Will Ospreay?
Well, it would make perfect sense to have, in this Dynasty tournament, have Ospreay at one end and Ricochet at the other. Have them meet in the finals. Ricochet go over.
That sounds like something Tony Khan would want to book.
Yeah, because flippity-doo-dah, look at me. I make flips.
And he'll probably cut off 2 of the ropes while he's at it, just because.
Yeah, and then go to commercial break.
Fucking internet mark.
Yeah, so, AEW this week was a solid B-, C+. In my opinion.
It's like all the other shows. They're basically B pluses to C minuses. That's literally mid.
I guess maybe that's our fault as wrestling fans, because we have such high expectations for Mania season, and and I might be unfair to AEW because we're holding them to the same standard. But
honestly, I think with AEW,
no, absolutely not. Back in the Monday Night Wars, would you have held WCW to a lower standard because it was WrestleMania season? Would you have held WWE to a lower standard because it was Starrcade season?
No, what I'm saying is it's not comparably the same though. AEW is not it's not 1A 1B like it was then. It's like 1A versus 3.
Well, whose fault is that?
Action figure McBookies.
There you go.
I can't tell what their main big show is. Is it Double or Nothing? Is it All In? Is it Winter is Coming?
Well, Winter is Coming is a minor show. They just the way they host it.
Winter is Coming. That's their big show.
See, I always
don't watch
December.
The way they've treated it, World's End is the big show in terms of storytelling. That's where things conclude. But it's Double or Nothing and All Out that are usually the 2 big shows.
Yeah.
You see, that just shows I've never watched AEW in 5 years they've been around, 6 years they've been around. Like, I have no clue. Like,
Well,
I
they're
probably
also bad
know.
at branding.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I think their single biggest mistake was letting Cody Rhodes go.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like, maybe the Punk stuff probably is the second, but the biggest mistake's definitely the Cody effect. Because I noticed a lot of things changed when Cody left.
Yeah.
Like the booking changed, the presentation changed. It's and obviously I can't speak to the inner workings there, but
I mean, from what Cody said, apparently his relationship with Tony broke down because he was taking credit for AEW's success when it was more for him and his friends that kind of did the work. He was just the benefactor.
Tony wouldn't have AEW if it wasn't for Cody Rhodes and everything that led into All In. So
yeah, that's just a dumb reason to have a relationship breakdown, and I hope that's not true. Because shame on you too. If it is true, Tony, shame on you. Do fucking better.
Yeah, because I remember Cody said he went on like a talk show and was claiming like it was his success that AEW become a major factor in the Western world and blah blah blah.
I'll give Tony Khan credit. He's good at negotiating contracts.
Yeah.
He's gotten them good media deals. They're a $1 billion company, not by any mistake. They are making forward momentum, just not as much as they should.
No.
They had 2019, they were red hot. They had all the momentum. 2020, they were still red hot, even though the pandemic, still red hot. But 2021, when Cody left,
I wouldn't say it's when Cody left. I'd say when it's Punk arrived was the downfall.
no, I think Punk
no,
arrived.
absolutely not. No. Punk popped the ratings, and the ratings would have continued to be good. But the thing was,
the ratings were good.
Punk
Yeah,
got there. Punk got there and realized that the company was being mismanaged. His irritation was with mismanagement of the company. The mismanagement at the lower levels that wasn't being handled at the higher levels. And he wasn't. And Punk was the guy who wasn't afraid to say it right in front of Tony Khan.
Well, and I think and I think that's where a lot of these issues stem from, and I think that's where the whole brawl out shit happened, and all the other issues that transpired from that. Like, Punk would probably still been in AEW had none of that shit happened. AEW would probably be on the rise. They just signed a major deal with Amazon Prime. The thing is, you can be good at business and also be very, very dumb. I've learned that in my professional career.
Also, I think it should be pointed out, like, you look at where Punk is now. He's back at WWE. He's been getting, like everyone says how stellar he is to work with over there now. Doesn't have the same attitude that he had before and everything. Like, you think there wasn't a conversation between Punk and Triple H before he got signed?
I mean,
there's a difference
between
there's a difference between knowing how to talk to your wrestlers, to talk to your locker room, to manage people, and not knowing how to. Just because Tony Khan has a bunch of money doesn't mean he knows how to manage shit.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is the people he's used to managing aren't wrestlers. He's used to managing general managers and staff that manage football players and soccer players.
Yeah.
Right, and if he was delegating things down the line, then AEW wouldn't be in the shithole that it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I'm happy to. Tony Khan, if you ever want to come and talk to us, tell us your story outside of things. I'm extending an invitation on behalf of Brian and on the pod. Come on here, tell us.
He's had contract problems with Fulham, the soccer club he owns, with his dad. Like, they've had problems with contracts.
I kind of think it's a cop out to just say it's because he's got Daddy Khan's money.
No.
Tony's a billionaire on his own.
Yeah.
There's some of his own ideas too. And AEW is all his own money. It's not Daddy Khan's money.
No.
Shad Khan owns no percentages of AEW.
No. And yes, everyone say, "Oh, but he appeared at one time," but that was just as,
I mean, that would be like. There's so many analogies here that it hurts my brain. But I don't know. I mean, I still have hope for them. I still love AEW at its core because, I'll always have a special attachment to All In and like the magical experience that was. And I still argue
And
that
it
that's
was.
the best wrestling show of all time because you
Yep.
just didn't know what was going to come next outside of
It
Dick
was
Drew.
it was a different. It was like it was the WrestleMania of indie shows. It was
Mhm.
like nothing that I mean I've never experienced anything like it before or since. I 100% agree with you, Evan.
Yeah. And it makes me sad when I think about this the situation AEW is in because I want them to be successful. AEW's existence is only going to benefit wrestlers. People, and that's what I've never really got about the whole tribalism thing is like people praying for WWE's downfall or praying for AEW's downfall. Shut the fuck up. All of you out there in the fucking world who are saying this, shut the fuck up. That includes you, piss break.
Sorry.
Tribalism is a terrible thing. It ruins sports. It ruins communities. It ruins nations. Peaceful coexistence creates more money, more opportunity, more growth. And wrestling's about money. It's about wrestlers getting more money, wrestlers getting healthcare, wrestlers now are getting more guaranteed money than they ever have. Ever. And that is in part because of AEW and Tony Khan. So let's give them their flowers, but we can also hold them accountable to some type of standard.
Yep, exactly.
It makes me sad.
I think unfortunately,
We're talking
the next few
Andre
years, I think
Winners
AEW is going to be. I think AEW is going to constantly be on a downfall as long as Tony's in charge and the way he's booking things now. I don't think anything's going to change.
I think if you're going to fix it, the correct way to do it is to hire a booking team.
Yeah, I don't see Tony doing that.
I think what I would do is I would hire Jim Cornette. I would buy the NWA. I would get Billy Corgan, Jim Cornette, and Chris Jericho on a 3-man booking thing.
No, don't do Billy Corgan. No.
No. Hear me out. Billy has stagemanship and production experience.
Okay.
That's where his expertise is.
Because
Have them be on a 3-man group that reports directly to Tony. This is what we're going to book. He gives his yay or nays. And then they go with it and they tweak. And it doesn't have to be Billy Corgan. I just want somebody that has the production experience. Think of it as like a more talented Kevin Dunn.
I was joking. I mean, imagine Kevin Dunn at AEW. Jesus Christ. There'd be so many cuts.
Go fucking hire him. Fuck. Go
be
hire
better,
him.
Be better to at least have somebody who has wrestling experiences and is a seasoned hand, even if he was a Vince McMahon guy.
Yeah. Like, the thing is I think Jim Cornette is out there, available, and would probably relish the chance to help AEW. The problem is I don't think the AEW talent are going to want to work.
They could have got Eric Bischoff, but they kind of burned that bridge.
Well, Bischoff's on a Legends deal with WWE, so and he kind of pissed on their leg and they pissed on his.
Yeah. Well, I feel like they kind of pissed on his first and then he just retaliated like that.
Fuck, go out there and hire Bully Ray.
You know what? It's not a bad idea. Wait, what's
Bully Ray, Jim Cornette, fucking, get some fresh ideas in there. Get some fresh things going on.
Get some wrestlers in there. I think that's what we're ultimately trying to say is get some wrestlers.
I think the next big three.
No, Daniel, I'm sorry. It's time for the mark to stop talking. You need pros. You need guys who understand the business. If you need to look at history as an example, you can look at early WCW and its failures. When did WCW start becoming profitable? When Eric Bischoff took over. What was the difference between Eric Bischoff and all his predecessors? Eric Bischoff had wrestling experience.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but some. So at least he had some idea what the fuck he was talking about.
Well, and he was delegating to the booking committee to make the decisions. His biggest mistakes was allowing creative control.
Yeah, with Hogan, Nash, Hall.
Which I'm not sure if you heard, before we wrap this up, Daniel, I'm not sure if you were listening. Next week, we're going to do a Attitude Era What If.
Ooh.
And
That's
I think
it.
we should invite Daniel onto the show for this challenge, don't you, Brian?
Dan, sure, you can come on, you can give a what if, but here's the thing. You got a week. We expect you to fucking do your homework. Don't come here with some half-baked what if. You're gonna come in here. You're gonna pitch something. You need to make sure you know who the guys were that were working at that time. You need to know what their storylines were. You need to know some of the real life shit that was going on that could affect what you're talking about. Because all that stuff comes into play for a good what if.
What time are we looking at? Like actually, wise, like what would you say is the end point?
Any of it.
Okay.
I would
Things that-
say I call the end of the Attitude Era when Stone Cold Steve Austin turned heel at WrestleMania X7.
Okay.
Because at that point, WCW was no more. And after that, you go into Invasion Angle territory. I would say, as far as the early side, I think,
Hogan turning heel.
and I was either Hogan turning heel or the Montreal Screwjob. I think either one of those would be an acceptable early point.
Or would it be King of the Ring?
That's another one. Like you could argue. Well, you could argue that Austin winning the King of the Ring and the 316 promo was the beginning of the Attitude Era. You can argue that the Montreal Screwjob and the following promo by Vince McMahon saying, Brett screwed Brett was the beginning of the Attitude Era. Like, there's arguments to be made for lots of different points. But, yeah, sure. We'll go with Austin winning the King of the Ring.
All right, that's a good sizable time, and it'll give us a challenge to have three. We were originally Brian and I were going to do three each. Let's each choose one and go all in on it.
Okay.
Two each.
Let's each do two. One for WWF and one for WCW.
That sounds like a good challenge, and I'm hoping next week that we can maybe get this multi-streaming through Streamlabs, guys, so we can get.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That would be good.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us. As always, make sure you go to enforceshoe.com, enter the code SOG25, get your 25% off on your Daniel Roberts over-the-shoulder boulder pills.
They'll make you HARD.
Have a good night. See you later, Nuggets.
See you guys.
Peace. Daniel is such a nugget.